Hi, I'm Ashvini, and most people know me as Ash. So if you've heard of a reference or to Ash, the speech therapist, that probably would be me. I am quite a senior speech therapist. I've been practicing as a speech therapist for about 23 years now. I started my journey receiving my degree and master's from the US and worked there for a while before I came back to Malaysia. In the US, I worked in a multidisciplinary team within the school district, working with teachers, special educators, psychologists, occupational therapists, special health need nurses to provide therapy within the school system. But once I came back to Malaysia, I've been freelancing. I've worked at a few therapy centers too, and currently I'm freelancing again. But um, I believe in a multi-D team approach to providing the best service to kids. So I really do work together with other therapists and doctors and professionals and teachers to give the parents, the kids that I work with, the best therapy and plan possible. So today, we will be talking about everything related to speech and language development. So I will go through some very quickly speech and language development milestones with you guys, some common myths and beliefs, the red flags, and then I would like to spend most of our time with talking about tips and strategies. So, what is speech and language? They're two different things, you know. Speech is how we say our words, say our sounds, how we're talking, right? It includes articulation. That means being able to say the different sounds correctly. It includes voice, if you're talking in a high-pitched voice or talking in a low-pitched voice or talking in a very hoarse voice. And fluency. When we speak about fluency, we mean what most people think of as stammering or stuttering. So kids who aren't able to speak in a fluent way will probably sound like I want to go to the zoo. And then we have language. So language is everything else. Language is talking, language is listening and understanding, and we even have written language also. So it's expressive versus receptive. Expressive language means what you are saying out, um, and receptive language is what you understand. So now with babies born, they're already reacting to language, and they think they've been reacting to the sounds and your voices since they were in the mom's tummy, right? So they react to sounds, they turn their heads, they're watching you speak, a lot of looking and trying to figure out what to do, and how to do it. And then they start making, as the older they get, they start making sounds and they make noises when they're talked to. Now that 6 to 11 months, this is where the excitement begins a little bit. They're starting to babble. They are communicating maybe with some gestures or actions. They may be trying to imitate some of your sounds, so they'll copy the way your mouth is moving. They may point to things or look at things, turn when their name is being called, and responds to like certain things like no, come here, okay, okay, come. Um, and understand the words for like mommy, daddy, milk, go out. Now they're 1 to 2, they're a little bit older, they are more independent, they're moving, they're mobile, then and their language matches it. They're talking about what they're doing, they're talking about what they want, they're negating, which are saying no to, they're complaining, they might be whining, and all these will happen in about, with 2 to 3 words. Phrases that they have learned, they may be repeating phrases, and by this time I'm looking at most kids being able to pronounce the p, the b, h, and w in words. And then you move on to 2 to 3. Now it's getting better. They're understanding concepts, they're understanding descriptive words. They're asking why. This is where you get why. Go put on your shoes. Why, mommy? Let's go take a bath. Why? You're hearing more pronouns like you and I. And then they're putting more words together, and their speech sounds have increased. So now
the T's, the D's, the K's, the G's. And when I'm talking about speech sounds, these are the sounds that child's making. They should be making it accurately. So let's say you have a 3-year-old who's not who's unable to say a k and g sound. That's okay. But if you have a 5-year-old that can't say a k and g sound, for example, instead of saying car, they're saying tar. Instead of saying go, they're saying do. At 2 and 3, it's okay because it's still 90% of kids have not achieved these have not hit may not be able to produce the sounds, but at 5 they should be able to produce these sounds. And now they're at 3 and 4, their speech is, oh wow, it's getting clearer now. When I say clearer, I mean not only the primary caregivers and people who see them often can understand them, but a person who's just met them will be able to understand what they're saying. Um, they have they've some of the sounds, the speech sounds that they have achieved. I'm sorry. Some of the speech sounds that they have hit at 3 to 4 would be L, the sound, the sh, ch. Those are more difficult sounds. So we're looking at 90% of kids by the end of 4 years old should be able to produce these sounds. And then, but also, there is also a difference between achievement for girls and boys. So usually the boys develop it a little bit later. So for the boys, we give them a little bit of leeway, maybe about 4.5, 5. You should be able to say all these sounds. And some kids, most kids will probably be in school. Even if they're not, they should be able to have some colors, some shapes. They're the asking when and how questions now. So when are we going? How do I put this on? Um, and then they are also their words are getting longer and longer. So like, mommy, I don't want to go. Papa, let's go now. I want to eat the chocolate. And now at this age is where you see a real leap in their understanding to read to books, to conversations that's happening. So you might be having a conversation with each other, and you'd be surprised to find out that your child actually understands or picks out different things that you have said and may repeat it to other people. So this is the age where you want to be careful of what you're saying to your kids, especially because they will be able to repeat what they say, what they hear. And then now you move on to your 5 and 6 year olds, 4 and 5 year olds. Of course, it's the level of their speech productions are getting more developed, getting better. They're using different words they're using words like yesterday, first, next, last. They're understanding longer instructions. Um, and at this age, they might still make many grammatical errors, which is fine because they're still trying to figure out the nuances of language. And at this age, we don't teach kids grammar the way we learn it as when you're older in school, in primary school. So they're still learning grammar based on what they're listening to. So if you are not if they are exposed to grammar that's not British English, then that's how they would speak too. If they're exposed to Malay plus English together, then that's what you would hear them speak to, and which is okay because that's what everybody else around them is speaking. So it shouldn't raise a concern that their grammar is not right. But the goal would be for them to be speaking in longer sentences, be able to tell a story, be able to retell a story or event. So if you say, oh, something funny happened at school today, and they're able to tell you that story of what happened at school. Maybe the sequence is off, maybe the grammar is off, but the gist of the story is there. That's what you're looking at with these 4 and 5 year olds. And now they are 5 and 6. They might be reading, they might not, they might be but they'll be able to follow along to an age appropriate story. They definitely will be able to retell your story. They're asking questions like, what is that word? What is this word? What does that word mean? They're trying to use big words, they're trying to use complex sentences, sometimes not really knowing what they actually mean or not even knowing how to use it, but they're constantly practicing to use these words. And then now they're beginning to read and write and spelling. And then now we get written language, right? So all this time our language has been expressive and receptive, talking and listening. But now we move on to written language, which is mostly what they would need to have in school. And then for the 5 and 6 year olds, the only speech sounds that they should not be able to say yet is the TH, the R, and sometimes the L's. The L's is a bit of a confusing letters for some. And in the recent years, as I have noticed, a lot of children at 5 and 6 still have a frontal lisp. And when I frontal lisp means that when they say the S sound, their tongue sticks out. So every sound that comes with an F, their tongue is sticking out. And this tongue thrust, a frontal lisp should have corrected itself at about 4 or 5. But many kids I notice, and it's not being corrected. Tongue thrust, frontal lisp is fairly easy to fix. Um, Truth be told, my kids both had tongue thrusts. Both my kids went for speech therapy. So for me, I think a lot of parents get concerned when they see, oh, my kid's not doing this, my kid's not doing this. And when teachers voice out that the child has issues, I think there's still a stigma to being labeled and having your child have speech impediments or developmental delays within speech and language. But my daughter, I think that's my daughter right there in the picture. That's when she was 6 years old. She was not able to say her k and g sounds. She had a frontal lisp, and I think it was the L's and the SH. Yeah, it was SH. So can you just imagine, my name is Ash and she couldn't say the SH and it was a S. So my name, she butchered my name for many years, and that was for a few months, which is what pushed me to work on her speech sound skills. Her language was fine. So at 10 months, she was speaking in two to three word phrases. She would speak so much she would speak long sentences, but most people um most people would not understand her because of her speech sound production delays. So by the time she was 3, she started working on her speech sounds, and by the time she was 5, we had it fixed. The last sound to go was the frontal lisp. My son, on the other hand, he is 9 now. I think he was the baby in the 0 to 6 picture. He's 9 now, and he, at 4 and a half, developed a really severe stuttering problem. So he was disfluent. He and he was at the point, he was like, no, you're not a speech therapist. You're a speech therapist, but I don't want you to be my speech therapist. And so he wouldn't listen to whatever I was telling him to do. And I was getting stressed because the stuttering was getting more severe. More people were noticing. And I think people who are not familiar with stuttering, people were reacting negatively and making it even worse for him. So actually, one of my friends, a fellow speech therapist, worked with him. So he went for speech therapy for about 6 months every week. And then we moved it to every 2 weeks, and then we moved it to every month, I think. And then I think so for a whole year, he was going for speech therapy to work on his stuttering, and now he's able to use the skills he has learned to manage his stuttering. He still has his frontal lisp. He thinks that it's okay. He thinks it's cool because a lot of YouTubers have frontal lisp. So we're still working on that. But I think this is where thanks for switching the slide. But this is where we come to where the myths and reality, right? Even as a speech therapist, it stressed me out. It stressed me out so much that my kid was not with this perfect speech. Both my kids had different issues, but they didn't have perfect speech. Or was it something that I did? Was it, then the baby talk, I'm like, oh no, wait, I didn't do the baby talk, so I was good, right? So baby talk is like where you go, oh baby, this is cuckoo caca, which we didn't. So in we spoke to them like they're grown-ups. My kids were using big words, because that's what they were exposed to. But yes, they did both use the pacifier. So was it the pacifier that made them have speech impediments? But also they both stopped using the pacifier before they had teeth. By the time they were one, they were not using the pacifier. But if you're using a pacifier at 2 years old and 3 years old and 4 years old, as your teeth are developing, as your speech is developing, then yes, you definitely will see errors in speech sound production because the pacifier is inhibiting you from making your correct sounds. Um, I know there's a lot of educational products out there, but if speech and language, especially language, does not really grow with educational products. It's educational products and the conversations you're having, the engagement that you're having with your kids, those are important too. This one, second and third born children are late talkers. Oh, I got this a lot because my number one, my older girl spoke very early, and my boy, I think at 12 months, he was just saying 1 to 2 words. We could count the number of words in one hand, and everybody kept saying, oh, it's because he's a boy, oh, because the older girl speaks so much because he's the second born. But no, it was not. It was that for me, I was concerned. So what did I do as a speech therapist? I did I enhanced my exposure to him getting language and speaking, and allowing him more opportunities to speak. And that's number 5 too. Boys talk later than girls. There were many boys my son's age who were speaking earlier than he was. So within the boy community, there's a variety of stages where they will develop their language skills differently. So we I don't think we should say, oh, don't worry about a child because he's a boy, or don't worry because he's a second born or a third born. You should always worry because that's what we do as parents, right? We worry until we I think we worry all the time. I don't think we ever stop. Um, yeah, these late talking children, actually, the most current research shows late talking children, they will develop their language skills eventually. If they do without any therapy, without any intervention, they will develop. However, they have shown the research shows that they may exhibit delays in other areas. So such as their reading, their writing, within maybe some academic skills, they will show some kind of delay unless some intervention or changes to the environment has been made. And this one I think is important for us, especially in Malaysia. Learning 2 languages causes language delays. And back in the day, way back when I started training, yes, they always said, oh, tell your clients to choose one language over another. You need to have one language. Don't speak 2 languages at home. But now the research has proven that learning multiple 2 languages or 3 languages has really no impact on a child's language learning and language and expressive and receptive. You might see a dominant language, so one language is stronger than the other, but you shouldn't see no language. You shouldn't have a child who speaks Malay and English, Malay at home and English at school. You should not see them not speaking at all at 4 or 5 years old. If they should have a good understanding of both languages, especially if they're exposed to them equally. They should show vocabulary the understanding of vocabulary and use of vocabulary if they're not able to construct sentences in one of or the two of the languages, because there should be a dominant language. So, and usually dominant language is the home language until they go to school. Then sometimes school, the academic language becomes their dominant language because that's what they're exposed to for longer periods of time. But so now, is your child delayed? As I think I've been hitting on some of these points. Yeah, I think you can go to the next one. When should I be concerned? Yeah. So this is basically red flags. And I know there's whole contention of the using the word red flags, but for me, it's basically if you do not see your child doing any of these things by those ages, especially by 4 or 5, they're not doing what a 4-year-old should be, then you should be concerned. If he's not repeating things that he hears, if he's not forming 3 to 4 word sentences, does not answer questions, those are those are concerning signs. Because by the 1, 2, 3, they're still developing language. Yes, I probably will give them a little bit of leeway, but even I have clients right now who are I think my youngest just turned 2, and by 1, mom his parents were concerned because he didn't make any sound. He showed no reaction to language. He showed no shared enjoyment. So he started therapy at 18 months, and now he's 2, and he's made lots of progress now. I have 3-year-olds who started therapy at 2, and within a year, guess what? They don't need therapy because we got them so early. And in the way most therapists would work with these younger ones is that we would work with the family, right? We would work with the primary caregivers, make changes within the house, within the environment to help encourage more language. And so the younger your kid is and you have concerns and you're able to get the help that you get a professional to identify if there is an issue, I think it would be better. So if you're at 4 and you're not if you have a 4-year-old or 5-year-old who does not have many of these red flags, then I think it would be time for you to get help for your child, to give them the head start that they need. Okay. So I go by this. Trust your gut feeling. Um, for me, because my kids went through it, eh, part of me was like, no, I think they're good, but then it wasn't good, and then I said, no, I'm going to work on it. For my girl, it wasn't as bad because it was just an articulation issue, but for my son, because it became a socio-emotional thing, because he stopped talking a lot. He became very reserved because he was having lots of moments of disfluency, and he wanted to tell us so many things, but he'd start it and then get stuck, and then he'll say, never mind, never mind. So that was when it just didn't seem right. And that's when, and I wasn't able to help him, so I got somebody else to help him. So I think if it just doesn't seem right to you, I think, and I know speech evaluations are very costly, but I think a lot of speech therapists do initial consults where they just charge you for an hour session, where you can, if they can just give you and not an assessment, but more like a screener. They might ask you questions. You can even do this over WhatsApp or email with a few of the therapists I know, where they'll just give, you just say, these are my concerns. Do you think I should get an assessment done? And most speech therapists would be willing to do that. And because we all believe that early intervention makes a big difference. Okay, so now there's so many things here going on, but this is basically my go-to things for encouraging language. I do this with random babies on the street. I do this with babies I meet and I know, and I do this with babies I don't know, because this is how this is just language enhancing technique. So face to face is self-explanatory, right? Always sit with your baby facing you, and so that they can see your face, and the moment, and I think just looking at you, and they will want to copy you. So when they copy you, they're imitating whatever you're doing or whatever you're saying. And also, it's shared enjoyment. For me, shared enjoyment matters because you must have fun doing what you're doing. The kids, especially kids, right? If they're not having fun, they're just going to walk away or crawl away. Gestures, as you can see throughout my whole talk, I use a lot of gestures when I talk. My hands do a lot of talking. And I use a lot of sign when I'm talking with when I'm working with my clients, and even with my nieces and friends' kids. I use a lot of signs like more, or I want, or and I say when I say bye, I wave bye, and when I say, oh, give me more, please give me, I want, I gesture a lot. And for me, it helps because if your child is one of those children who may struggle with expressive language, then they have another means of communication. And without a means of communication, there is frustration. So if you have a child who's 3 and 4 not using words, but understands a lot, this child will be frustrated because they aren't able to tell you what they want, but they actually understand and know and what they want, but they aren't able to tell you. So you teaching gestures, teaching sign, and sometimes the signs, like I have a lot of clients who they create their own signs for random things, and that helps the parents understand what they want. I have one of the little boys that I work with. Whenever he wants his milk, he's nonverbal. So whenever he wants his milk, he actually goes to the kitchen and touches the milk bottle. He doesn't grab the milk bottle, or he touches it. And what we did from then, we scaffolded it to we used the picture communication, and we said, and we started pointing to the picture every time he wanted milk. Now he just goes to the picture and he points to the picture, or he grabs the picture and gives it to mom whenever he wants milk. So now it's like um anybody can be at home. If grandma, grandpa, auntie, uncle can be there, and he can communicate with them, as opposed to before where he needed to go to his kitchen, to his bottle to point to it. But now he has the picture to use to speak. Okay, now I'm going to jump down. I'm going to keep self-talk, owl, and parallel talk for last. I'm going to go to false alternatives. Alternatives is very simple. It's just you are just going to pretend that you have no clue what they're doing, what you are doing, or what you're saying. So let's say you serve them their cereal with milk, and you don't give them the spoon. You just give, here, have your cereal, and then they're going to look at you and they're going to be like, wait, what? There's no spoon. And then you can say, oh, sorry, I forgot to give you a spoon. So what you have done is you've created a reason for them to communicate with you, rather than you just say, here's your spoon, here's your bowl, here's your cereal. You've created a reason for the child to say, where spoon, or mama spoon, or no spoon. That, or another way to do false alternatives is you set this bowl of cereal down, you pour the milk, and then you go, oh, you're going to eat some cereal with milk. Do you need a fork, or do you need a spoon? And then the child will say spoon, and then he said the word spoon, or he will point to the spoon. And if they're nonverbal and they've pointed to the spoon, oh yes, we need the spoon to eat our cereal. You have just modeled, and I go back up there to modeled what you actually want your child to say. Um, and then you can go, and then recasting is where you are actually repeating what you've just modeled, or repeating what the child has said. So set the bowl of cereal down, pour the milk, pour the cereal, and then you say, oh no, what are we going to use to eat this cereal? Do you need a spoon, or do you need a fork? And the kid said, spoon. Yes, I need a spoon to eat the fork. Here's the spoon. And then that's recasting. So recasting is where you use a word the child has said, and you have said it in a longer sentence. So the kid said spoon, but you said, I need a spoon. I need a spoon to eat my cereal. And the reason behind all of these modeling, recasting, false alternative, and prompting, is we are giving them opportunities to learn more language, to input that language, because receptive language always comes before expressive. I need to understand first before I can speak. And if the more vocabulary I have in my head, the more sentence structures I have in my head, the better I can speak when I can, right? So that's what we're trying to do. So now we're going to go back up to self-talk, owl, and parallel talk. I'll do self-talk and parallel talk first because that's the easiest things for parents to do. You can do this with any activity you do with your kid. You can do it in the car, you can do it at the mall, you can do it at the grocery store, you can even do it while you're giving them a bath or while they're pooping. Because self-talk is where you are talking for yourself. Okay, we need to change your diaper. Mommy's going to take off your diaper now. And oh my goodness, this poopy stinks. It stinks really bad. Well, let's go to the car. We got to put on your shoes. Let me put on your shoes. Okay, shoes on. Strap it on. Let's go in. Let's walk down the stairs. We're at the grocery store. We're like, oh, we need to get some carrots. Oh, where are the carrots? I can't find the carrots. Basically, everything that's going on in your head, well, the G-rated stuff that's going on in your head, you want to speak it out loud. So they are hearing you speak. They are hearing new vocabulary. They are hearing new language matched vocabulary and language matching to the situation that they're in. And then we go to parallel talk. Parallel talk is basically talking for your child. So you're saying, so let's say we're going to go, we're at the grocery store. Okay, I need to get some carrots. Where are the carrots? And then your child points to something and say, carrots. Oh, there, mommy, the carrots are there. So you are speaking, you're modeling, going back to modeling and recasting, but you are doing it in a parallel talk, as in you're speaking for your child. You're giving them the language. And I really love parallel talk because you are teaching them exactly what you want them to say. Or so another example would be you go to grandma and grandpa's house, grandma opens the door and mom says, "Oh, hi grandma. Hi grandma, we're here to visit you." So that's a parallel talk because and self-talk at the same time. Because you're actually, this is what you want your child to say. You don't, instead of saying, say hi to grandma, say hi to grandma, you are modeling it. You are modeling, hi grandma, good morning. We're here for 3 days. We are here to visit you. And it reduces the pressure of your child having to speak, number one, and it models to them what you want, what they should be saying when they see grandma. So this works the same way in when you see someone, you're at the mall walking around and you see a friend, and instead of saying, say hi, auntie so and so, say hi, you're saying, as the parent, you say, oh, hi, Auntie Joe. Fancy seeing you here. Wow, we see you at the mall. I've never seen you at the mall before. So for me, the parallel talk is important because when the child develops language, they are inputting so many important information, and we don't want them to only learn how to speak as a third party, right? You don't want them to be learning if you keep saying, say hello, say this, say that, it's a very high chance that the child will be also saying the word say in front of everything. So I think that's important. Then the most important thing is owl. And I think that's the next slide, Kate. Okay, owling. Owling is like all speech therapists will do this. I think the occupational therapists do this. I think even teachers do this all the time, and it would be great. And when parents do this, I think allows you to take a step back and watch the wonder of a child's brain. You're observing, you're looking at the child, which is where the face to face is important. You're looking at their body language. You're looking at the gestures. And then you stop and you really look at your child. You don't say anything. And then you listen. Okay. So I'm going to give you a good example. You're working with your child. Let's say he's about uses about 2 to 3 words at a time. You're walking at the park and the child stops, right? Instead of saying, come on, let's go, you stop and you observe the child. See what he's looking at. So he's looking at a dog somewhere. And then you wait and you look and you're like, you're still not saying anything. You're still being quiet. And then the child points to the dog. And okay, Does the child have a label for the word dog? Maybe not. Let's just listen to see if he's going to say something. And he said, "Ruff, ruff," right? So now we've done the observing, we've waited, we've listened, and now we can say, "Oh, yeah, that's the dog. Look at that dog. That dog, the dog says ruff, ruff." And so that's you self-talking, or you can parallel talk. Look, mommy, there's a dog. Look, dog, I see a dog. You've parallel talk. So you can do either or, you can do both. Or you can recast where you go, the child said woof, woof, ruff, ruff. Yes, the dog says ruff, ruff. You've recast it. Um, and it, I think when you and many of my clients always say this, it feels like we're talking so much, Ash, but this is how your kids learn language, right? They learn language by you talking so much, by listening to you talk. And I think there's a whole generation of kids nowadays who speak with British accents and Australian accents and American accents, even though nobody in their family have accents, because they're listening to what's going on YouTube, on Netflix, um and Disney, and because they're listening, that's how they're listening. They're not only listening to the words you're saying, they're also listening to the accent and how you say it. Um, and I think a lot of parents go, I can't do what you're doing, Ash. Yeah, no, you can't do what I'm doing because I only work with your kid for that 1 hour. I don't have to, live life with your kid for the remaining 23 hours a day. You don't have to be upbeat like me. You do not have to be recasting 3 or 4 times like me. But do it once, do it for giving them more language. I really love it when I'm out and about, and I hear kids say, Papa, dog, and then the papa goes, yeah, yeah, look at that dog, it's a black dog, wow, bye dog, and that's all that's needed, because you're actually giving them enhancing their language by just having a conversation and shared enjoyment, because the kid really was excited about that dog, right? So I think that's the bottom line for me, is to be able to do that, to be able to come down to your kids level and do what they talk about, what they're in, talk about what they enjoy, and giving them the right language models. So, and I think I've just been talking about all this, right? How you can do all these skills. It doesn't have to be tabled work. I'm a very child-based therapist, so my sessions are all but what the kids enjoy. If they enjoy reading, we will work on reading. You can do any of these in any of your daily routines. You can play during play. There's so many things that all these the skills that I've mentioned earlier can all be used anytime, actually. So there's no such thing as I don't have time for homework, I don't have time for therapy work, because what I am teaching you is things that you can do even while you're driving a car and the kid is sitting in the car seat. All right. I think I went very quickly. I think I touched on a lot of different things. Anybody have any questions that you would like to ask?
Yeah, I think that this is amazing. Thank you so much, Ash, for this. I was actually very much engaged and I couldn't stop listening to you. Dear parents, if there is any questions you would like to ask, that's the moment. I feel that this is very important, and then Ash is for you and she can answer any questions. Please don't be shy. And just unmute yourself and just throw the question on the floor, and we will see whatever we can and how we can support.
I think there was a question on in the chat regarding
Okay.
a 4-year-old who stutters, having some disfluency. So when it comes to disfluencies, there's what we call age appropriate disfluencies, which is where and it occurs especially during those language leaps. So if you're going from like that 2-year-old language to maybe a 3-year-old language, or a 3-year-old language to a 4-year-old language, where you have all these ideas and you're trying to get it all out in a coherent sentence and in a structure, then you might see kids beginning their words with mommy, 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 I want to go to the park right now. So that's a normal stutter. Well, I wouldn't say normal. I would say age appropriate stutter, because it's part of they're excited. They might be excited or nervous, but it only occurs in the beginning of a word. So if your child is disfluent at the beginning of a word, if they're repeating a word, still quite normal for the 4 and 5-year-olds. What is concerning to me as a speech therapist, like what I saw in my son at 4, he would get stuck. So he would go ah 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 ah, and what we were seeing was he would shake his body once. And as a speech therapist, seeing that, and this is what we call secondary behaviors. That in the first time I saw it, I was driving and I saw it in the rear view, and it took everything in me to like just remain calm and let him finish off that stutter, and then have do some of the techniques that we needed to get him to say it out fluently. So a neurotypical disfluent moments would be whole word and beginning phrase repeating. So repeating a word. I want, let's go to school. Or they're saying, Mommy, the chicken is going to fall off the table. That's still normal. When you see any kind of secondary behavior, so rocking, tapping, my son did a lot of this, and he would tap anything he could. And because I think secondary behaviors occur because one time they tapped and the stutter kind of cleared, and so they think that's going to help them. Any kind of block or any kind of prolongation. So if they go, Mommy, I want to go home, then you should be concerned. Yes, I think those are the biggest concern would be the prolongations, the blocks, and if the repetition comes towards the middle or the end of the word. So they're going like, I want to go to my school today. Then that is a concern. But the first rule of thumb for disfluency is to remain calm, as hard as it is, especially when you see secondary behaviors. Or number one, remain calm. Number two is you can say, oh, could you say that again? I didn't hear you. Blame it on yourself for asking the child to repeat it. Don't say, oh, you stuttered or you didn't say that right. Please repeat it. You say, I didn't hear you very well that time. Can you say that again? And then see if the child is able to repeat the story, the sentence again, bit less disfluent. And most of the time they might be able to, and if it was a neurotypical disfluency, then they would be able to easily, because then they would have already run through that sentence in their head once. So it's more of a language structure issue versus a disfluent moment issue. But also never tell them to slow down, never tell them to start over, making it seem like there is an issue with what they're saying, because the research shows that if you highlight the situation to them before they're ready for it to be highlighted, then you might make things worse.
Ash, amazing. Thank you so much for that. Parents, is there any other questions? Please speak up, or you can put this on a chat and we can read this out loud. By the way, probably you're seeing on the screen the QR code. It's very important to get the feedback from you so we can actually make the session more suit and tailored to that, what you want to get from those sessions. So just once you're sitting there and you have a phone next to you, you can scan it and just answer just 4 simple questions. Is there any additional question you might wanted to ask Ash about?
Hi, can I ask a question?
Of course.
Yeah, sure.
Does it help or does it hinder if you help a child complete their sentence?
Say that again. Can you say the first part of your question again?
Okay, does it help or does it hinder if you assist a child to complete a sentence?
When you say assist, does it? Can you give me an example for what you mean?
So something like, yesterday I saw the cat, and then you said, no, that wasn't a cat, that was a horse or something, that kind of thing.
Oh yeah, definitely. So then you could say that, definitely. I mean, Are you referring to a child who is disfluent at this moment, or is a child who's a language more like language?
No, I'm not thinking of disfluency. I'm thinking more of maybe. In fact, the example I gave may not have been that good. I'm thinking of a situation where you know that they know the word. Because
Ah,
yeah,
okay,
like
okay.
for example, cat. Cat's not a particularly difficult word, right?
Yes.
Um, so if they're trying to recall that, oh, I saw a yeah, like a cat or something, right?
Okay,
And
okay,
then
okay.
you know they want to say cat, but they're not
Yes.
saying it. So
Okay.
do you help them or do you wait
Yes,
for them
you
to say
can.
it?
You could just go, oh, was it a cat? Or you could go back to that false positive and go, yeah, I think, and it could be, you give them a false positive that was like, it's like totally out of the world. Like, so if you knew, you knew it was a cat or a dog and you said a hippo, and then they're going to go
Oh,
like, oh no, daddy, not hippo. It was a cat, There's no, especially if it's like, the context, you know what they're going to say. The false positives work, or you could give them two options. Was it a cat or a dog now? And for me, what I always often do is I try to make it seem like it's my fault that I don't know. And so I go, I'm a bit confused. Was it a cat or a dog now? So it's my problem, not your problem, because I don't want them. I usually try not to make it seem like there is an issue, especially with my little ones, because the little ones they're still learning language. I don't want to burst their confidence. I don't want them to know that what they're saying is wrong, and I don't want to tell them it's wrong. And so what I usually do is I give them the false positive, or I give them two choices. And then if they're still choosing the wrong choice, then I'm like, oh, that's silly. We don't have hippos here. It's gotta be a cat.
okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Wayne. That was a good question to ask. And I have a question, guys. No question. Ash, I got a question to you. What if you have a situation when the child is repeating after you but does not answer the question? It's just whatever you speak with the child is keep repeating what you're saying, but it
Right.
does not
Well,
really share.
that is a great question. Okay, so back in the day, there was only one way of how children acquired language. They got words, 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 and then they learned to put two words and three words and four words and five words. Now there's this whole new, brand new way of acquiring language, and we call them Gestalt language learners. So they learn language in a chunk. So
Right.
they learn words like "Good morning, Papa. It's time to go now." um how are you today? I'm fine. So they learn things like that. Also, going back in the day, echolalia, which is repeating what you're saying, which is what this child's doing, was a bad thing. So echolalia was, we needed to when I started college, it was like echolalia is bad. Try to stop it. When the child's doing it, you need to stop it. But now they're saying echolalia is actually the first stage of Gestalt language learning. So that because you are asking me, do you need a crayon? I do need the crayon, but I don't know how to say, yes, I need the crayon, or I want the crayon. So I'm going to say, do you need the crayon? Because I heard the word crayon, or I wasn't even listening to you, so I'm just repeating what you're saying. But so when a child is echolalic like that, it means that they are having issues learning language. They have not learned language correctly, or they're not paying attention to what you're saying, right? So and I think what you said was you had repeated it a few times, the child's not getting it. You try a different way of saying it, the child just keeps repeating the different way. Your first choice would be to, if it was a question of like, do you want a crayon? You can just show them the crayon. Do you want it? Then they'll probably grab it. Yes, I want the crayon. So you want to model, yes, I want, or whatever. But if the child's not responding at all, if it's a question, do you want the crayon, and the child's still not doing anything, then maybe the child is having trouble understanding what you're saying, right? And if if they're not an English language learner, and they've been exposed to English long enough, they should understand that then there is a concern. That means that child is definitely having a speech language delay, or speech language impairment that might probably need to get definitely will need to be assessed and require the help that they need.
Yeah, that's amazing. Thank you so much. Parents, any other questions?
Oh, I think on the chat, there's about multiple languages. Yeah, you should always keep speaking more than one language to your child. I believe in that. I know a lot of parents have found success, especially if they're concerned with how especially if they're concerned with the child's language. A lot of my clients, what they do is one parent speaks one language, another parent speaks another, or a grandparent speaks a language and then the parents speak another language. I had a girl who spoke German to mom, English to in school in Malaysia, and then they moved to Mexico, and now she speaks German to the parents, English in school, and Spanish to the nanny, and she's learning 3 languages beautifully. And and her German is her best language. So her therapy was done in English with me. I did and then but it carried over. So a good language therapy will carry over within your languages. So yes, definitely it's okay to respond in a different language to the child is speaking to. Yes, of course. If let's say you would like your child to speak in Mandarin, but all he was 1, he was 2, he was 3, he was speaking in Mandarin, then he goes to school and now suddenly he's like, no, I'm not speaking in Mandarin. I'm only speaking in English now because, everybody in school speaks English. But you know what? At home, you can, even if he's speaking to you in English, you can continue speaking in Mandarin, because you're increasing his vocabulary, you're increasing his language structure inside his brain, so that when he chooses to finally acknowledge the fact that, he is a Mandarin, he can speak Mandarin, and he embraces his Mandarin skills, then he already has half the battle because he understands Mandarin already. So then when he starts speaking, he's good, as opposed to having to learn both speaking and understanding Mandarin later on.
Right. Ash, I got a question actually for you, and the question was asked by one of the parents during the registration time, and is actually touching upon on transitioning from the preschool to the mainstream school, and the fact what is the difference between the developing the language as itself and academic language, which is also very important. And a lot of parents, I have that discussion with the parents as well, just because they're trying to support and not to miss the opportunity and make sure that everything is as it should go. So do you have any comments on that? What is it?
I think the most important thing to understand is preschool. Life is easy as a preschooler, right? The teachers tell you everything. They keep repeating everything that you say, everything they say. They give you instructions in very, very simple and repetitive manners, right? That's what happens in preschool. So you're learning, everything's hands-on, there's a picture to everything. There's something, expressive language is matched with a visual, and any instructions get matched with gestures. So teachers say, come on guys, time to line up, come sit down. It's a lot of which is exactly what the kids need, right? They need that. But then now when you're going to you're transitioning now, you're going to your year 1. I think year 1, they're still a bit kinder to you. They might be still using gestures and pictures and visuals. But again, it's a lot more listening, right? They have to listen more, they have to comprehend more. And the questions that are coming up from the teachers are more complex. They're not going to say, do you want the pink crayon now? The teacher's going to go, you guys need to get your pink, yellow, and blue crayons and come back to the table, right? So the instructions, the level of complexity comes from instructions, from questions the teachers are asking, the sentences the teachers are asking. And then on top of that, now finally, you are reading, you are listening for learning. Like all this time, you've been doing it, but you have not known that you're doing it, right? The teachers were teaching you your colors with the paint, and you were painting. Yes, you were learning your red and your blue and your green, but you were painting, you were doing this fun stuff. But now you're suddenly, and then you were counting, you were doing numbers with math, and the teacher was going 1, 2, 3, matching the word number 1 with 2 pom-poms and 3 balls and 5 sticks, right? But now suddenly, a lot of it is coming with maybe a paper with the pictures, picture on paper or picture on the wall, on the screen, but not really hands-on. And she's talking a lot, or he's talking a lot, and there's a lot of new words, new languages, not new words and new language structures. And so and I think it becomes a little bit overwhelming for those, especially if lessons are being in English and English is not your first language, right? So maybe you came into school at 4 or 5 and you've only had 1 year of preschool, and now you're in year 1 and your language is not that strong, or you have a language delay and your language is not strong. Now the struggle is going to be you're going to realize the struggle. And if you don't catch it right away in the early years, as in even in, if not in preschool, in year 1 or even year 2, I understand there's like a big leap between year 1, year 2, and then year 3. And then after year 3, that year 4, oh my gosh, I help some of my clients with their language arts work in year 4, year 4 and year 5. And sometimes I get stuck. And those are all language skills. Those are your receptive language, your understanding of your language, your written language. All those are important. So I think for a good transition, I always feel kids need that a better they need to be stronger in that preschool year 1 time. That's when you need to their language needs to be enhanced tremendously before they get to the year 2, year 3, and definitely before year 4, because year 4, oh my gosh, that's the language burden increases tremendously. So I think did I answer your question, Kate?
I feel that you
Yeah,
did, and I
yeah.
feel that you did. It's just a bit. I feel that the very short summary of that is how important is early identification, and how
Yes,
we need to make sure that that preschool age, if there is any concern, need to be supported, just to
yes,
allow the child to develop, and then not to have some challenges or difficulties later on.
yes,
A lot of
yes,
things are actually uh, can be supported strongly or even fixable depending on the level of a challenge. It
yes,
just need to have the right support in place. I think
yes.
that that's what it is. Parents, any other questions?
Oh, there's one more. Can you
Yes.
elaborate a bit on decision between modeling instead of telling the kids to say hi? So, okay, I love modeling because modeling, I am putting no pressure at all on the child. If my child, like if it was my son, modeling worked for him, because that he knew he was unable to say some words, or he put under pressure, his disfluency would increase. So if I were to say, Jay, say hi to grandma, he'd be like, he would go in a panic. You could see it in his face, and he'd be like, I'm under pressure now. And then he would definitely have a disfluent moment. As opposed to me saying, oh, hi, grandma, hi, we are here. And he initiates that hi, right? And I'm a big proponent. You know what? Even if I wave my hand, I said hi. Rather than, I'm not going to force someone to say hi, grandma, with my words. I'm okay with, because a gesture um shows you that I said hi, right? I'm looking at grandma and I said hi. So I would prefer to model rather than tell the child what to do. Yes, there are moments where I tell my children what to do, like say thank you right now. I didn't hear the magic word, and then they would say whatever they needed to say. But modeling always reduces stress, and asking questions increases stress. Telling someone to say something increases stress. And as I think, as even as adults, when our stress response goes up, our chances of us being effective communicators go down, right? So I feel that modeling, and sometimes it doesn't even have to be, you don't even have to say hi grandma. You can just say, oh, hi mom, we're here to visit you. Hi. You can say hi, and then you can, grandma will definitely look over at the kid, and grandma might say hi, and then we hopefully the model that you have shown about saying hi, the child will say it too. I have a little boy that um he comes up the stairs to my office, and I would go, "Hi mama, hi papa," and mama and papa will say, "Hi Ash," and then when I say, "Hi Em," he will go, "Hi Em," instead of saying, "Hi Ash." So even though I was modeling to mama and papa, saying hi to mom and dad, he was not getting that he was supposed to say hi Ash too. So now what we do is I go, "Hi mama," and mama says, "Hi Ash," and then I go to him and I say, "Hi Em," and then he will go, "Hi," and then he looks at me and then he'll go, "Ash." So it took a while. It took a while for him to actually get to understand that when somebody says hi to you, you don't repeat what they say. You say what you say hi with their name or whatever. But it was the modeling that got it, because me telling him, "No, I'm not Ash. Say hi, Ash," and then he'll go, "Say hi, Ash," instead of saying just the word "Hi, Ash." So
Yeah, I think that Wayne put the supportive question to his first one.
yes, I'm just curious as to what point in time it becomes okay to encourage the game. Oh, you know what? If your child is a good communicator, if your child is doing what developing normally, by all means, tell them what to say. It's fine. But if you are concerned that they're not developing language properly and they feel pressured, when they are pressured to speak, you see that they're shutting down, then you do the modeling. But other than that, you can what you can do is you can encourage the child to say, "Oh, oh, you forgot to say hi to grandma. Hi grandma," and then um move on. Or you can just do a recast after they say whatever, if they didn't say the right thing. Like say, "Oh, you forgot to say thank you to grandma," and then the kid said, "Thank you grandma for the chocolate," so you recasted what you wanted them to say.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for that, Ash. I think that it's all clear now. Yeah. Wayne is just confirming. Another question, parents. I actually have one which one of you posted during the registration, and it's about the connection between the speech and attention and focus. So sometimes there is this trouble to provide the speech support just because of the short attention and focus in the younger children. Do you have any, is it the myth? Is it the something which we need to look into? What do you think, Ash?
Yeah, I definitely, because if you're not paying attention, you're not able to absorb and listen and learn, right? But at the younger ages, the zeros, the ones, the twos, the threes, yes, their attention's like all over the place, right? I'm not expecting them to sit and have like this long conversation with me. I'm not expecting them to be able to do many things that I would expect a 4 or 5-year-old to do or attend to. But I always believe in age appropriateness. So if I have a 2-year-old and I'm playing with something they are interested in, back to being child-centered, let's say they're playing with blocks and they're able to play with blocks for like 2 to 3 minutes. That's a great way for you have their attention with the blocks. Great way to be working on numbers, on letters. I'm sorry, numbers, colors, or talking about concepts like putting on, building on, oh, fall down, so many different things that you can do. So you work based on, when I say work, I mean, you're targeting language based on the child's skills. But yes, the older they get, the less attention that they are showing, that they're able to attend to, then yes, you might be concerned. Usually we don't see too much in delay in their expressive language. We see a more receptive language, especially with reading comprehension and listening comprehension. So the longer the sentences are, you're only because you're not attending to everything. You pick up you might pick up only parts of a conversation or parts of something that you're reading or listening to, and then you have difficulty with your understanding.
Thank you so much for that, Ash. I think
Okay.
that we have one more question on the chat.
Non-verbal over time. Oh, okay.
So I'll maybe read
All
it.
right. So she's
Yeah, okay.
3-year-old, and it sounds like she's become nonverbal over time. When introducing to strangers, does she warm up when if she does warm up after a while, then it could just be her being a shy kid. if she doesn't, and you see it carry over to other areas, like, she's only talking at home but not talking in school or anywhere else, then I think that's probably something you need to discuss with the teacher, or with a professional, saying like, maybe there's some socio-emotional issues going on. But I think, yeah, these 3-year-olds, they're at that point where they think they're big kids, but then they're still little kids. They're still trying to figure out their place in the world. And I think this is where you start seeing the shyness. They're more aware of people. And so if the child does warm up eventually and does say hi or bye, at least, so you've asked them to say hi to the auntie and uncle before lunch, and now lunch is over, and they're actually able to talk to the auntie and uncle when they ask them a question towards the middle of the lunch or at the end of the lunch, where you're leaving, and say, okay, bye uncle, say bye uncle, and then she says bye. Then, yeah, okay, I think that's her being shy. But if she's not doing that at all, then um is she just very shy, or is there some I would and it's if it carries over to other situations, then maybe you would have to maybe rethink and see, is there something that's bothering her. Maybe talk to her at 3. She should be able to tell you why she is why is it that she's not saying hi. And if there was a group of kids, would she go and talk to those kids? Would she say hi to the kids? Like, if auntie and uncle had, two little kids there, would she say hi to the little kids or wave her hand? I think those are things that it's hard to say if it's an issue, but I think you definitely can talk about it. And you can actually, I think there's a whole Bluey episode about saying hi to people, and all the appropriate things to say when you meet a new friend. I think that would be a good social story for the child.
Yeah, I think that Wasim is all good now, and thinking that it's probably rather shyness.
Yes.
Wayne popped in another question on the chat.
Different bubble lines as well as at 3.5, what you should, you don't point out the errors, you just model the correct pronunciation. Or you can, exactly what you said. You said, hey, you don't have to say stick out your tongue. You can say, oh, you mean the word 3. You can look at the child face to face and model the right sound. And oh yeah, and if for me, I'm a stickler for grammar. So when my kids say, I want to eat bread, I do say, it's a slice of bread, or do you want to eat the whole loaf? I do say things like that. And I'm because I they call me the grammar police at home. But if in your family you say, I want to eat bread, then the child says, I want to eat bread, then it's fine, right? But if you would prefer the child to say, I ate a slice of bread, or I ate 2 slices of bread, then you model that for them, because then that's what they will hopefully use the next time they have to say the word bread and slice together.
Yeah. Ash, thank you so much for that. Can I just go back to the question about being shy and maybe not responding? And it's not particularly to connect that, but just to maybe explain whether it is possible that the child might regress in speech after some time. Because seeing that it's like it's developing all normal by the age of 2 or by the age of T, you can see that it's actually just losing all that what it gained.
Yeah, so that's I guess that's where you probably want to if your child is regressing, then that's a sign that you need to go seek professional help. Children should not be regressing in their speech. They should be that's why it's called development. Is you need to be getting better and better and better within your own abilities and constraints, right? So if your child, at 1 was hitting all the milestones, at 2 hitting all the milestones, and suddenly at 3, they've become minimally verbal, or they're not saying, their sentences have gotten shorter. understanding is decreasing. But, you know, given the fact that when a child gets older, language demands are higher too, right? And so, but if within the language demands of a 3-year-old, they are not doing all the things that that they did when they were 2 years old, then you should be concerned. And that's where you seek professional help. Talk to the teachers in the school, or you can speak to a speech therapist, you can speak to an occupational therapist, or and I know it's very difficult, I'm going to put it out there, but it's so difficult to get appointments with them, a developmental pediatrician, to get an assessment. But I think that's the for sure red flag where yes, something is wrong, and you need to do something about it. And yeah.
And one more thing, I'm so sorry, it's probably just coming from me here now. Speech and the social speech, the fact of the shyness, or whether we have a problem with like social interactions. It's like how we can differentiate that is where we should start worrying that there is a social difficulty, social emotional difficulties, and when is that a norm?
I think for like between your 2 and 6-year-olds, right? Especially if you can see them interact with other children, for that's the important thing. For me, children's interaction with adults is important, yes, especially with the teachers, and all that. But children's interaction with their peers, that's what we need to see. We need to see them being able to play with their peers. At 2 and 3-year-olds, they're parallel playing, they're playing next to each other. At 3 to 4, then they start playing together. There's a plan, there's action. They'll be fighting, arguing. They might be agreements, there might be disagreements. They might be playing with the same toys but different ideas coming up, or even like just like with the boys just running around and chasing. For me, that if you are concerned that your child is unable to do that even in a small group of kids with familiar kids, then I would want to know more about their social skills.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, so
talking to adults, sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm just thinking that it's very much everything is connected. So all that speech, all the social aspect, and as you said, the occupational therapy, the focus and attention, everything is connected. And that's why we are actually looking at the milestones,
Yes.
making sure that we are hitting the milestones according to the age.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I think that's the thing, that it's the child's development is so many different parts, right? It starts out with just mom and dad and grandma and grandpa and aunties and uncles, and then it goes with friends, and then it's school, and then it's academic language, and it's learning language, and all the social language, and then there's movement. There's so many different parts, which is why everybody needs to work together. It can't be me as a speech therapist with the parent. It can't be teacher versus parents, or teacher and parents. It can't be teacher only. I believe that it needs, so if there is an issue, which is why this what you're doing here at Beacon House is brilliant, because you're bringing parents and teachers and the school all together, and saying that and the professionals together, and saying, you know what, we can all work together for the better, for a better future for each child, right? So
yeah. No, and I feel that this is a key. It's like we all need to pair up, and we shouldn't be shy about just like our concerns, worries, wonders, and we should just simply share them and just ask each other whatever this is a norm, or maybe I should start worried, because even among the parents, specialists, or the teachers, there are opinions, and you might actually see it that your child at home didn't behave differently and speak differently, and then in a preschool we have an over sudden different situation. So all that environment need to be connected, and we need to really feed it to each other to make sure that the child is growing and enjoying and making like 100% out of it. I think that Wayne just put a comment in here where we can find you to support children. What I'm going to do, Wayne, I will share Ash contact details, but if you have a concern, or if you have any other questions, I'm actually happy to support it as well, because I think that the first step is to reaching out to the school and just finding out what sort of the concern you might have.
Yes.
And we may see it, how that actually is seen in school, because it might be that your concern is maybe not quite that big as you initially could have think. So I will share that presentation, Ash presentation today, together with her contact details if you ever wish to reach out to her. Please, guys, remember that we are a team. And I think that Ash mentioned very important message in here, that the school is here for you to support your child at any point of your child's journey. And if again, I will repeat it, if you want to just reach out to us and share and ask the teacher or anyone in the school about your child's progress and any wonders and worries you have, do so, because we are here to support it. Yeah. Any other last question? I can take one more last question, and I think that we're going to be wrapping up because Ash is 11:20 already.
Yes.
No question? I'll call it once. I call it twice. Call it 3 times. Okay. Thank you so much, parents. Another question, just a message. Come on, Wayne. No problem.
I was just saying thank you. That's all.
Always welcome. I think that it's absolutely amazing to have you. Next month is occupational therapies and fine and gross motor skills, and how that is important in your child developmental journey. So please do join us. Thank you so much, guys. Don't forget to scan the QR code and give me a feedback. It's very important for us to continue supporting you and finding the ways on the subjects or the topics we can discuss. So before you leave, please just leave the feedback. That will be amazing.
Hey, thank you, parents. Thank you for taking the effort to stay today, to come in and listen, and for taking the step to enhancing your children's speech and language skills.
Amazing.